Hi, I'm Dawn Damari, and you're listening to another episode of A Teaspoon of Healing. And today I have two guests with me, Frank Kilpatrick and Rayko. They are the producers of the Gratitude Meditation Music Podcast and gratitudevideo.com and a lot of other projects. So welcome, Frank and Rayko.
Thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And we'll talk about your podcast and all your projects. Now, what is the Gratitude Meditation Project?
Frank, do you want to start?
Sure. It's a series of short, about 9 or 10 minute meditative exercises of sorts. Exercise sounds too serious. It's music. It's fun. It's affirmations. It's actually a combination of audio and video with Rayko's beautiful singing. And the idea for the gratitude meditations came from the notion. Actually, I was in Egypt a couple of years back, and I just was taken with all the aspects of human evolution that we don't know about, and how these people could create such magnificent engineering feats, and how did we connect with all that? It just was so inspiring. And so somehow I took from that starting point the notion of putting together this series of inspirational, as I say, brief meditative journeys. And they're bookended, we call them. There's one in the morning, one in the afternoon. The morning is energizing and the evening is relaxing, and at the same pieces, but from a different musical perspective. And as I say, some people will listen on audio format. Some people will listen audio and video. If you listen on that, or if you consume it on that format, then you have the advantage of some on-screen graphics with affirmative, positive messages as well. So that's where we started.
Nice. And Rayko, what was your story of getting into the gratitude meditation and the music?
It's exactly that. I cannot forget the evening when Frank was messaging me from Egypt with all kinds of excitement, where he was just so inspired and so moved by exactly what he just described. And, we even before that, we were always talking about, how we can bring ourselves even the stress, de-stressing, how to de-stress our, current lifestyles. Is, we are constantly going. And every time we meet to write music, collaborate on music, we always start with kind of like an om, we just speak about how we can just, ground ourselves before we start writing, and we'll speak about a lot of things. And we will even went to the video. What is the name of the gentleman, Frank, that we used to watch his gratitude? Armstrong. I cannot remember his first name.
Oh, Louis. No, it's Schwartzberg.
Yeah.
Louis Schwartzberg.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Another wonderful video about gratitude.
Yeah.
We just thought we had something additional that we could add to it. So
yes.
That's what we did.
Yeah, we got so inspired by his message, and how we want to appreciate the simplest things in life that we often take advantage of, like having the cold water coming out of the faucet, and that kind of things. And so we just decided, as soon as he got back from the trip, he had many papers. He wrote down a lot of kind of like a free writing of what he felt and got inspired by. And so we just put them all together and started writing the first piece. That's how we began.
We brought another fella in, by the way. And just as a visual, it's kind of fun because all those papers ended up all over my music cave floor. And we had, I think I dropped the folder at one point. So we had all these kind of random ideas sprinkled everywhere. But it was actually a valuable and enriching process just to kind of sort them out, find the themes. As I say, we brought in another collaborator in addition to Rayko's husband, Rain, and her friend Joey and some others. We brought in a fellow by the name of Alex Wand, who actually won a Grammy a couple of years ago in the area of microtonal classical music. and he added made an immeasurable contribution to what we were starting to create by adding different instruments, by working on the melodies with Rayko, working just in a whole lot of ways, and made it so much richer.
Nice. Now, for gratitude, and there's a lot of people that talk about it, and why is it so powerful, and how can it help people? Just the simple fact of showing gratitude and being thankful.
Well, let me take that one if I can, and you can add something, I'm sure, wonderful to it, Rayko. But the essence of it is that when we're in a state of gratitude, it brings our awareness and our consciousness to what we can create ourselves and where we are right now. And so it moves us from the challenges that might be outside of ourselves that may be kind of gnawing at us that we can't much do anything about, into a state of reflection on the good in our world and the reflection on what we can, in fact, impact. And so that simple process is so therapeutic and calming. That's where we wanted to. That's the principle with which we started.
Wonderful.
Indeed, it's exactly just like he said. There are many things in life that are out of our control, and we have two choices: either to be positive or negative about it. And though I'm not saying that we should just let go of all options or researching things to, make things better on our own, but to do it with gratitude, to do it with positive energy, it just makes so much difference. And that's what we want to bring to the world by having our podcasts and, music, visual meditation. And also, we realize that many people ask, hey, so how do we meditate? How do we meditate to bring gratitude and just hold on to gratitude in our lives? And so by having this visual, like 9-minute visual, kind of like a class almost. I once talked about this, but a lot of people lack motivation to exercise, and they would like to have a personal trainer or go to a class. And once they're with the trainer or class, they just do it because everybody else is doing it, or they are motivated to do it. So it's kind of like that. Platform could be used as a where people can come, where people don't know how to meditate. They can just come and enjoy the music and visuals and just enrich their lives that way and fulfill their meditative lifestyle.
Nice.
Sorry.
I was
going to suggest that the value of the meditative journey is so useful for people, and maybe even some folks in the audience who say, well, I tried to meditate, I never could. This gives people a little jump start. It's guided in the sense of providing easy affirmations. It's got the visual side. It's got beautiful singing. It's got beautiful music. It really touches the senses from all different dimensions. And so it's brief as well, as we mentioned. So if there's if people have that challenge, this just gives them a little closer way of getting started in that whole process. And so we find that's why we get good feedback on it, because it isn't something you have to study for months, or you don't have to do it for an hour at a time. It's just simple, and it's easy, and it's fun. It's great music to just great music to listen to. So that's where we start, and that's why we've been enthusiastic, and that's why we found such enthusiastic response to it as well.
I love that. Now, so if somebody hasn't meditated, or they're new to it, perhaps they're just new to this whole world, what are the benefits of introducing yourself to meditation and just starting right now, even if you've never done it before, or you think you're going to get bored or fall asleep?
Stress is one of the top 3 causes of diseases and illnesses. And so I think that, well, I strongly believe that, since we can meditate while we're in the kitchen cooking or driving a car, doing laundry. So it is, I believe it is really essential that we take ourselves to that place where you can just completely zen out. And it just, makes our lives physically and mentally so much better if you just start, anytime right now, if you haven't ever meditated, just, if you prefer to live in a lifestyle where you just, it's kind of like a mental and physical supplements that's very essential to meditate.
It's interesting. I think it was in maybe the 70s. They started taking seriously the whole notion of relaxation in its value for the body, and its reduction of stress just became a real thing. And at the same time, meditation was seen as a great tool for that. There was a book written at that point called The Relaxation Response, and it was it really started to provide the academic evidence for the importance of meditation and the importance of reducing stress. So there's by now a lot of so much research. Everyone knows that you need to find a way in your day to turn off the mind and therefore turn off the the sympathetic nervous system that is so engaged with what we're concerned with in our day-to-day experience, the fight or flight response, they call it. Right. And as I say, the book for people that want to go back then was called The Relaxation Response, written by Herbert Benson, a medical doctor, just as a kind of a stake in the ground for how all this started. And it's from that point that over intervening years, we've all gotten a lot smarter about the importance of managing stress, and meditation is certainly a wonderful way to do it. And as I was suggesting a moment ago, perhaps even just exploring it as relaxation in some cases, because the word meditation might be kind of polarizing, and it might be for some people just easy to say, I'm taking 10 minutes to charge myself up in the morning. I'm listening to this gratitude meditation podcast, and do the same at night. Maybe just call it music. Don't have to call it meditation.
That's interesting. I like that. And so using a program, so you have images, like you said, music. So that's something that people can do. Say that they just find meditation. It's hard for them to get into the habit, or they get bored. So using these guided images or video or music, is that helpful for some people that you've talked to?
Well, it really is. Different people access relaxation in different ways. Some people like kind of having a guide, the on-screen affirmational images about the simplicity of life are compelling to others. Some people are simply engaged by the fact that they can undertake it, as Rayko was saying, as they're kind of readying themselves for school or work or whatever. It's different for each person, but we sure have found that whatever the way they take it in, it seems to provide some value.
Yeah, our visual director, Paul Imani, he's done many, countless amazing work before. Excuse me. And he has, just like Frank was saying, there are many different, when people meditate, they, some people would like to go back to the childhood memories. People would like to visit ocean. And he put the bits and pieces of those different visuals where everybody could be relatable, like it could be relatable to everybody, or helpful to many different, bursts the variety of people's emotions when they meditate. So I guess that is a good contributing factor to to help people to meditate with our music video, the visual part of our gratitude
And
video.
because maybe most of your listeners haven't seen the gratitude video yet, it's interesting because some of the images are very, as Rayko was saying before, very commonplace, like getting water from a tap. I guess that's the one you mentioned, right, Rayko? That's pretty simple.
Right.
Some are beautiful scenes in nature, and of course that's why we go on vacation, to get a different perspective for a day or two or a week or a month. And this is a way to do it for a few minutes and bring that either everyday experience and focus on that into our hearts and our minds, or to perhaps find experiences we don't see every day. Viewing the earth from thousands of miles away, or seeing the oceans and seeing countries that we can see from outer space, and in their true and authentic interconnection without the boundaries that divide them and cause wars.
It's beautiful. And so you also have a podcast. We'll talk about the music in a little bit as well. But you have a couple podcasts. You have the Gratitude Meditation Music podcast, but you also have a podcast about suicide prevention.
Yes.
Yes.
And so does this also tie in with meditation, or is this a different project?
It is a different project, but I believe the stress in life can cause many diseases and illnesses, including mental diseases, of course. I am from a number one suicide rated country. I'm from Tokyo, Japan, and I am no foreigner, or I'm so familiar with just what drive people to end their lives. All my life I was exposed to that, and Frank introduced me to his good friend Mark Goldston. He was a suicide specialist doctor at UCLA, psychiatrist, and we did the program with him, Frank and I, him and Kevin Hines. Kevin Hines, that's how he pronounced his name. Kevin Hines, who jumped off from Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and survived. And so we have this documentary where he just takes us through step by step what drove him to suicide, why he regretted as soon as his feet left the ledge of the bridge, and what made him so grateful that he survived, and why he is going around everywhere in the world to speak about suicide prevention. And Frank and I thought it was very important topic that can definitely, it is a separate project, but definitely tie into meditation, because a lot of people who has mental diseases, they often like to meditate to calm themselves down, or take their mental state to another place that's peaceful. So that's why we often talk about these two projects together.
They do have kind of a common theme of being of some value to people in different situations. The Stay Alive video, which we're talking about, actually, we've heard from parents and loved ones of people who are in dark places, and they want to be able to help them. And the video, it's about 90 minutes, and it's an interactive kind of documentary between Rayko and Dr. Goldston and Kevin Hines, and it does provide some specific ideas on finding one's worth and purpose, and for those who want to help, how to connect with those individuals who need it.
That's wonderful that you did it, and it's so needed, and I know it's helped a lot of people. Well, thanks for doing that.
Oh, thank you.
Anybody you can help with that, it's just wonderful. So
if I wanted, I just wanted to add one more thing.
Sure.
The video Stay Alive video does have theme song as well. That comes with the music video, that also directed by Paul Imani. that did gratitude video visuals, and that video has received a lot of feedback, and we have gotten a lot of personal messages in our inboxes from people that didn't want to publicly comment because it's such a private issue.
Yes.
So I think that's why I think visuals really really help people, kind of like motion pictures. They always put picture the movement, and they put the music in the background. Without the music in the background, exciting scene or the sad scene is not as effective. So I guess music and visual together really really works to get works well, bringing
We would
out
say it brings
emotions.
people into kind of a different world,
Yeah.
a different state of a different state, as I say, without as much practice as of course, practice makes perfect, or at least better. And so we certainly support that. But what we've heard is that people, and we get this feedback, we're very fortunate
Yeah.
to get feedback that says, look, this is something that engaged me right away. So that's we're fortunate to kind of come up with
Right.
this approach that has these messages coupled with the visuals that we're
Yeah.
talking about.
And by seeing people actually, like in the video, even like the documentary video or the music video, people in just seeing individuals in that state make us feel less alone too. And I think that connection is very important as well, because we often feel very alone in the world. And just even seeing people that we don't know, the strangers on the video, I think that brings us the comfort. Oh wow, we are not going through this alone. There are others that are going through it, going
I
through
think
what we're
that's
going
really
through.
one of the most powerful things, what you just said on Rayko, is that in giving people a sense of someone who's holding their hand on the path of
Right.
exploration of inner self, which can be scary stuff, but to say, look, there are others who might be feeling concerns, or others who want to take the step of exploration. I can feel that I'm doing it in a way that's supported and just more powerful.
Right. Yeah.
I agree. People don't want to feel alone. And it's easy to feel alone when you feel like you're going through something like that. You just think you're the
Especially
only
then.
one in the world that's going through. Yeah,
Well,
and you're not.
You're right. And even when it's day-to-day stress,
Yeah.
it's good to know that someone is on the path of exploring how to um, uh, more successfully deal with that, and to celebrate the little quarter-inch wins together, to
Right.
to recognize that there's two steps forward, one back, as they say. To recognize that it can be challenging to shut off your thoughts, and
Yep.
so having a kind of a partner, even if you don't know the person by name, can be so useful. So I'd certainly suggest to listeners who are interested in seeing whether or not you partake of the material that we've created. It can be so helpful to have a partner in your world. Someone is your what do we call it, Rayko? Kind of, we have a thing that Rayko put together called a human development team. Do I have it right?
Oh, human growth team.
Human aid, yes. Rayko had T-shirts made up in Japanese.
Oh, I like.
They're very, very sweet, and it's about reminding you that you have someone in your growth team. So
That's very important. That's really important.
It's
Yeah.
really useful.
And I'll definitely get where people can find all of this. I just wanted to ask, so you both have music backgrounds. And as I mentioned, I used to do a music radio show. So you have also projects that are not related as much to meditation, but are uplifting, pop music. So do you mind sharing quickly? Do you mind sharing briefly about your music background?
Sure.
That's really interesting.
Well, Rayko's the one with the music background. I have a pencil.
Well, I didn't know anything else. Ever since I can remember as a child, I started with, playing with the classical piano, and I went to guitar, and I actually moved here from Tokyo, Japan, to pursue a music career. and formed a band, toured around the United States, toured Japan, and I have a symphonic rock band um, called Lolita Dark, and also I started doing a lot of sync licensing on TV shows and feature films, and recently sang some songs for a brand new Disneyland ride in Tokyo Disneyland. And then I do work with Amazon Prime shows, and just recently the vocalist in the house band of Eric Andre show season 5. During all that, I met Frank. I think he saw, well, I know he saw my bio, and it was fateful day. We still celebrate the September 14th anniversary of him and I first on LinkedIn, right, Frank?
Right.
Every
That's how we met
year.
on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Nice.
every year. And he had this song written, and he was looking for a vocal. I read the lyrics and I loved the concept. And I contacted him, and we connected on LinkedIn first and met in person with my guitar player at that time. Went to his home in Manhattan Beach. He has a studio there. And the producer, Arif Holzak, he was waiting there with Frank. And then we recorded a song. And that was our beginning of our journey together as a collaborator. And at that time, we weren't expecting to produce just gratitude videos, but it was meant to be because, as I mentioned in the beginning, we always ground ourselves every time we do a music together and start talk. We talk about life in the beginning of every session. And by doing that, I believe that we do a lot of like pop and jazz even, and R&B type of music. But then this gratitude music, this meditative music became one of our top priorities because we just love giving and reaching out and connecting with other souls. And if we can help one person at a time, we are grateful.
Absolutely. And so where can people find, I know there's gratitudevideo.com. Is that where people can find the videos and the music and the imagery?
Yes.
Okay.
And stayalivevideo.com, right, Frank?
Mm-hmm, that's right. And of
Stay
course,
Alive Video.
We're on YouTube and the usual suspects. I suspect Spotify and all.
Nice.
But that's maybe the best place to find is our own websites, as she just mentioned.
Gratitudevideo.com. And then the podcast, is that also on there?
They're also there, and we're adding to those as we speak. And
nice.
As people make requests, maybe for a certain different idea, a new direction, we're anxious to get feedback and kind of focus our next efforts.
I love that. So if people want to access that, they need to, they want to have some beautiful videos and music for their meditation, they can go there. That's awesome.
It's a good start.
I love that. Now, before we sign off, is there anything you want to share with our listeners? Just any tips that have helped you or just anything? It's yours.
Go ahead, Frank.
Well, I would say it's just the notion of being patient. And I mentioned a minute ago, the idea of having a partner, if you can find one, or if someone doesn't immediately present themselves, there are opportunities online, opportunities at the local community college to connect with others of a similar interest. And I just would reiterate that as being valuable. The other thing is, as I say, to have some patience with the process, because it will come to some a little easier than to others. So those are my two ideas for the day.
Mm-hmm. And I recently, that's a really, 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 good point. And I recently learned from this person named Rick Hansen. He's actually very well known. I believe he's a psychiatrist as well. he has this theory of Teflon versus Velcro. We often hold on to bad things, like bad things sticks to us like Velcro.
Mm-hmm.
And good things often slips off right off of us like Teflon. And so what he is telling us is to reverse that. Just hold on, not only holding on to gratitude, the positivities and good things in life, but immerse ourselves with it. Just go nuts with goodness. Just when good things happen, or if you are in the moment when you see something or felt something good, or like saw something beautiful like jacaranda blooming in the backyard, I mean, just immerse yourselves with it. There's nothing more important to stay positive at all times, and it is a really, really essential nutrients that we can feed ourselves mentally and physically. It would be helpful. So I definitely will encourage your listeners that and be proactive about that.
It's interesting. Kind of the science part of that is good to think about as well, and that is that we are so very, very good at finding the dark,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's I guess a protective mechanism. If we look at the long term and the biology of humans and how we needed to be aware of the bear behind the bush, and so we've kind of kept that ability or disability, if you want to call it that focuses our attention and perhaps first in that area to find and connect with the not so good. And so just to build on what we're talking about here, it is that it's a good goal to have of reversing those and making the immersion in the issues that we have, the opportunities we have, the joy we see, rather than the risks and darkness that might initially present itself.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Well, again, thank you for coming on the show, and everybody go to gratitudevideo.com and you can get all the other links from there to all their projects. And thank you, Frank and Rayko, for sharing
Thank you
the
so
wonderful
much.
things you're working on.
Thank you so much for giving us a chance to offer our little teaspoon of healing to your audience. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Susan, you remember the time we were in Orange County? We were driving around and we got lost, and we ran into this place called
Avila's El Ranchito.
You remember the place? The place had awesome decor and authentic margaritas.
Did you know that Avila's El Ranchito has been around since 1966? They have 13 locations throughout Orange County. Visit Salvador Avila's location in Lake Forest and Foothill Ranch for great food, ambiance, and specialty margaritas.
Thank you for listening to this episode of A Teaspoon of Healing. If you have any questions for me or for Frank and Rayko, you could visit my website, click on contact, and get a hold of me there. You can also find links there to my social media where you can get in contact with me. If you're not a current subscriber, please subscribe to this podcast on your preferred podcast platform. And stay tuned because there will be a lot more episodes coming up after a short break. And I look forward to hearing what you want to hear. Please let me know on my Instagram at Teaspoon of Healing, or again at teaspoonofhealing.com.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Please consult a physician or other health professional before undertaking changes in lifestyle or wellness habits. The author claims no responsibility to any person or entity for any liability, loss, or damage caused or alleged to be caused directly or indirectly as a result of use, application, or interpretation of the information presented herein.